what's the thinking with him now?
Yeah, he does have great versatility. I think we definitely want to see him in as many situations and position as we can to see what's fit for us to make sure we get the 5 best on the field. So it's kind of I guess the best way to explain it is it's like a Rubik's Cube every day, and Lem, Jean-Pierre, our assistant, and I have to go through it and make sure that we're getting guys in the proper positions and that they're getting those reps because it's a constant fluid motion and building that from a developmental standpoint and productivity, right? But everything that we want to talk about right now at this point is about how we do things in our approach. And so how they do that is always what matters right now, right? Obviously, we know when we get to the regular season, results matter, right? But right now, to get to that point, how we do it factors in that foundation of what we're trying to build.
And just to clarify, in left guard, is Liam, at this point, is your thinking Liam is our starter, or is there competition with Isaiah?
There's competition throughout the whole group, right? So there's competition throughout the whole group, and I know that's, I wasn't thinking that question would ever come up. I'm just joking, obviously.
Yeah.
But, of course, I knew that would be something that people want to talk about. And I think that, as you go through this, our number one thing is by the time we have to play regular season games, we really need to start. That's at that point where we got to start honing in on who those guys are. But the continuity is always building in the room, on the practice field, and everywhere. So it's not like it's a one-set competition with these certain guys or that certain guy or anything like that.
And forgive me, one question, just to wrap him up. The fact he hasn't played guard since college. Obviously, Patriots used him at tackle. Do you see any rust at guard with him, or are the guard skills still there that were impressive in college?
Yeah, he's been very impressive all the way around everywhere we've put him. It's foundationally of what we're trying to get done and how we want to do things is different for him. So there's the rust of that. It has nothing to do whether he's inside or outside right now. It's just based upon how we're doing things. It's just differently in how we want our offense to look. And so that's where if he has any rust, that's what it's from.
Coach McDaniel talks about how it's important that offensive line practice techniques aren't just practice techniques, that they in some way become ingrained in the player. Can you kind of expound upon that concept and how you have observed over the years that best approach?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of layers to that question, to be quite honest, because I think you have to set up your individual time with them that matches what they're going to do in the game, right? And so every day there's those banked reps. So if we're doing an individual and then it matches in team, and so there's all these banked reps that keep going on. But then you circle back to the meeting room and you have to paint the picture of what you want it to look like, right? And you have to establish every day the mindset of here's who we are, here's how we do it, right? And here's why. If I can constantly give them the why and how it fits in with the whole offense, that makes more sense to them, right? And how we do things affects our receivers, it affects our backs, it affects our quarterback, it affects our defense, right? And so when they understand that, there's the ability to really see the bigger picture and understand the game and how we want to play it.
You describe yourself as intense, passionate, emotional.
I have.
The good offensive line coaches.
I've said that about myself?
Yeah, I saw an interview where they asked you to describe your coaching approach and personality.
Here or someplace else? Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I also saw in that interview that you said you find yoga to be a soothing, relaxing technique. Have you been able to continue the yoga practice here?
Absolutely.
What do you? Because my wife tries to get me to do that too.
Yeah.
I've been resisting, especially the heated room yoga.
Yep.
Do you do the heated kind?
I do. I participate in heated yoga. I think it's just something that for life, I really believe in it. I think just the mechanism of breathing, I think that's something that really gets lost and tying your brain and your body together. So I really think that's important.
Translating that to the perspective of the offensive
Yeah.
lineman. Every offensive lineman has their own personality. Some guys are big teddy bears. Some guys are mean and growl and
Yep.
rumble. How do you see the offensive lineman balancing breathing and not getting too worked up about what happened on one particular rep versus your desire for this to be an aggressive attacking mode?
Right. I think that I guess they're tied together in my mind, that you can be very aggressive and still breathe. Right. The concept of this, the film, that football film, the program or whatever of what that tried to paint the picture of, I wouldn't say is exactly what it always looks like. Right. And so the internal focus that these guys have before they go out there to play, I think is something that, to get to that point, the breathing is very important, right? And to really focus in on one task and what has to be done, right? And so you could definitely tie them all together.
Butch, I've got a pass protection question
Yeah.
as it relates to communication.
Yep.
What percentage of sacks would you say are based on caused by lack of communication as opposed to somebody just getting beaten physically?
I think it's definitely something that happens on a fair amount is communication. I do think, it's a balance. When you look at it every year around the league or wherever else, you look at it and you say, okay, what happens? The distribution of percentages is pretty equal, right? It's all right. They got us from a scheme standpoint. Hey, we had bad communication. Hey, we had bad fundamentals. Like, you can list all of them, and every year it's all the same 5 topics, and the distribution each year with one percentage is a little bit higher than the other, right? So communication is vitally important. It has to happen on every play, run and pass for us, right? But from the protection standpoint, it is vitally important. And then obviously, fundamentally, we've got to be in tune with being in balance and connected to the ground and to the defender.
Jon, I know you guys don't grade on a curve, but the front seven has been very good for you guys in training camp. And like that, how have your tight ends done against them?
I'm gonna say about 50-50. We've had our moments, and then we've had times when JP or Chubb or Cam Good have handed our hat to us. So that's always a positive. When you know you have to strain, when you know if you're not on your details on one side or the other, that they're going to make you pay. That as a coach is very refreshing because you don't have to say nothing. They come back like, I didn't get my second step down, or, oh, I missed with my inside hand. Like, yeah. Whereas sometimes when you don't have that kind of competition or that kind of pressure on you every time you're in there, you get away with bad habits, and then that shows up on Sundays, and usually it's not good for you.
Jon, when you and Mike and Chris and the scouting staff evaluated Julian Hill, what skills did you identify as potential NFL skills, and how was he done?
Well, the thing that jumped out with me was when I watched his target tape, just how well he transitions. And, we're big about yak, run after the catch, being physical, and all that stuff showed up on tape with him. So that was the first thing that attracted my attention to him. And then you could just tell that he had a lot of power and strength in his body. And so when we go hit the sled and when we do things, you can really feel it. He's got a lot of good stuff in him. And now it's just a matter of me trying to get it out of him and him continuing to trend in the right direction, what he's been doing. He's had a very good camp. All those guys have had a really good camp. And so I'm excited just to see him against Atlanta and then start Houston and just see him in preseason and see how that goes.
Thanks, Jon.
Something you already talked about, Eric Sauber, Elijah Higgins.
We're good.
Yeah, so I want to start with the rookie because I was just so impressed by the way he was able to make that transition right away. What have you seen from him so far as he kind of made that jump from receiver to tight end?
Elijah?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing is, just his ability, which, being from Stanford, you would think this would happen, but how quickly he was able to pick up the system and we were able to move him around. He's gotten better as a run blocker. That's always going to be a work in progress. But one of the things about him, every time he takes a rep, and I challenge him and Julian this all the time, I always tell him every day, make new mistakes. And really, I can't think of a practice where they've made the same mistake twice that they've done 2 or 3 days earlier or the day before. So that's really impressed me a lot about both of them because that's harder to do. It's easier said than done. And, he's running good with his routes. Haven't had a ton of ops as far as getting the ball thrown to him, but they're putting a lot of good stuff on tape.
Potential role in this offense. We're talking about Braxton?
Yeah.
No, Braxton's doing an unbelievable job. He has good speed. He has a lot of football knowledge. Can get in and out of breaks. Now he's been doing really well out there, and just another guy that can separate and get edges and also has some speed to take to the house if the opportunity presents itself.
How would you evaluate the battle for the number 3 wide receiver job?
Yeah, no, it's a battle. I think we have a lot of depth in our room, and guys are fighting for that third spot. So, there's a bunch of guys that that have different skill sets, and we're still trying to figure out who's going to kind of separate themselves as camp goes on.
Wes, we were in the May and June practices that we watched. We saw a lot of Robbie Chosen getting deep, catching a lot of balls. Haven't seen him quite as involved. Has he had fewer reps? Any reason for that?
Yeah, I think the opportunities will present itself as camp kind of goes on. It's always tough when you're talking about reps and, all right, we got to get Jalen on this, and we got to get Braylon Sanders on this, or whoever it is, as far as those deep threats. So he's actually been going deep. We just haven't thrown it yet. So I know you're looking for the flash plays of getting it, but he's been doing some really good things, and when he's gotten his opportunities, he's done a nice job. The ball just hadn't necessarily came his way yet, and sometimes that happens. You just gotta stay with it and stay patient, and those targets will come.
I know it's only August 4th, but do you have a feel yet as to whether Eric can help you this year, or is it too early to know that?
No, Eric can definitely help us this year. Last year was just hard getting him lined up, and now this year we're lined up, and now we can start to get into the details of the offense and how we need to do everything, and there's still a lot of work to be done, but the fact that he's lining up right and doing the right things and listening to the coaching and all those different things, he's progressing really well and leaps and bounds better than what he was last year.
When you're constructing the final 5, 6, 7, no matter how many you guys keep, do you consider complementary sizes? You have smaller receivers, obviously. Do you need to make sure you have 2 or 3 big bodies in there as well?
Yeah, it's always good to have that, kind of diversity as a receiver of different skill sets and different things like that. Of, all right, well, this guy's good at this route, maybe this guy isn't as good, or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, we need good football players, and so whatever that is kind of what it is, and it's going to be really, really tough decisions as we kind of move forward, and just challenging guys to separate themselves from the pack, and seeing who has that mindset to be able to do that.
Wes, as this team searches for a number 3 receiver in either yards or targets behind Tyreek and Jalen, is it important to you that role is occupied by a wide receiver, or could it be Raheem? Could it be a tight end? Does that make a difference to you?
Yeah, I think we can always get in different personnel groups to take advantage of what the defense presents and what the skill sets are of all those players and everything. But, but typically, like, you're going to want a receiver in there, especially on third downs and different things like that, and another guy that can separate and move the chains for us and do all those things. So, it's a big thing for our team, and really challenging these guys to see who's going to separate themselves, and we're still evaluating and see who's ready to rise to that occasion.
As we look for someone to replace the Gesicki targets in the red zone, might that fall on the big-bodied wide receiver? Target someone who played in last year.
Maybe, just depending on what the defense presents us, and we could use our quick, fast guys or to separate, or sometimes it calls for a bigger target depending on the personnel we're going against and all those different things, and with the scheme that they have, or are they more of a man bump type team, are they more zone? There's so many variables that kind of go into that it's tough to say who it's going to be week to week. But yeah, absolutely. Anytime you have a bigger guy, the bigger target that has really good hands, you constantly want to use him in the red zone because he can body people up and use his size and hands and all those different things to score.
Wes, obviously, Ced's role changed 2 weeks after he signed here when Tyreek was acquired. He handled it like a pro. Mm-hmm. Is there a message you've given him about how to, I don't want to say get his career back on track, because he did help you some as a return on receiver a little bit last year. Are there ways you've told him where he can get back maybe to where he was in Dallas, even if he doesn't play quite as much as he might have thought he would here?
Yeah, I don't think really anything really needs to be said. He's approached everything like a pro. So there's nothing that I'm gonna say that's gonna change what he's gonna do out there. he's kind of an even keel type of guy, and he goes out there, he does his job each and every day, and I appreciate the heck out of him. So I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to him. Me putting him in there to get those opportunities, and then also him, coming through whenever we put him in there, and being consistent with that.
And skill set wise, he gives you what?
Well, I think his size and his hands, and he's a very smooth route runner. He presents problems for defensive backs because he's the type of guy that's never really covered. Just because he has really good body control and he has really good hands, and so anytime that ball's in the air, we just being really consistent with making those balls where they're 80-20 or whatever they are, and coming down with some of those plays when he doesn't have the exact separation.